Sorry, you don't like my man's.
No, oh my God. So Max.
Just sit like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Welcome back. We're back. Episode number 4.
Yeah, big 4.
End of season 1. As
a little,
per se, a season.
It's a little sad. It's like bittersweet.
It is. It's a nice little sitcom, as one would say. No,
Yeah.
not a sitcom. Podcast, video podcast.
Multimedia.
First time podcasting
Yeah.
for both of us. Well, for an actual more than like a 10-minute episode we had to make in first year university.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know. It's like a lot more easygoing than like all of the other on-air work I've done.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I like it's just super casual.
You like to
know?
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
exactly.
sure some aren't quite so casual, but
The podcast.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean casual in whatever way you take it. Or the best part about it is you can go casual or as serious as you want to.
Exactly. You can make it your own. I feel like it's like very freeing as a media form.
It's a platform to talk, speak your mind, talk to other people.
Yeah. Talk to Max. Get an excuse to talk to you.
Exactly.
Great.
But we got a good excuse to talk to our guest today.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. That was a good segue. Good job. Very excited about the guest today. Like Team Canada, that's wild.
Yeah, figure skating is like a sport that like coming into it, I can't say I knew a ton about.
Yeah, it's been fun to do the research about it though. Like there's a lot more that goes into it. The rules are kind of like, there's a lot of rules.
And definitely a sport that I couldn't do.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to learn
Let
about.
alone skate, the lifting around. Like,
All of
just,
it.
It's not for me. I would love to be able to do it.
The touching your
but
toes, just couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it, yeah. I don't even think I can touch my toes like sitting down right now. But we're not going to show that on camera.
No, you guys don't want to see that.
Instead, maybe we should get to our first guest.
Yeah, let's do it.
Our guest today is a Paris figure skater and part of Team Canada. He's also a sport check athlete and has his own new podcast called The Ice Lab. We are so excited to be joined by Trennt Michaud.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's so exciting to sit down with like such a high level athlete again. We had one last week, but figure skating is something like Max and I both have obviously watched a lot of, but you know, it's a kind of a new sport to me that I'm like learning about, and this is really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's I feel like people mainly just watch it with the Olympics. Like that's what
Yeah.
everybody always says. Oh, I watched it with my grandparents during the Olympics and stuff. But you know, it's like most amateur sports. Like it doesn't get a lot of coverage besides the Olympics, but there's so much going on with them in other amateur sports that, you know, hopefully gets more traction than just professional sports. But
Right, and you were just competing in France.
Yes, yeah.
And you won.
Yep.
Everything. So congrats for
Thank you.
starts.
Yeah.
But also like how was that? You got back really recently, but what was the whole kind of experience like?
It was pretty cool. So I've been to France before. It was actually during 2022 Worlds. So it was still kind of COVID-ish. Like
Yeah.
we still had to get tested all the time. We were kind of in like a bubble-ish, but not full bubble. So didn't really get to experience France as much as this one, which was awesome. France is lovely. We were in a little town called Angers, which was we were able to walk to the rink, which is wonderful instead of waiting for buses or anything. But it was a great experience. It was a full crowd for the whole event, which was huge. The crowd was awesome, and we skated really well, so we can't really complain. When you win, there's some things obviously we could still done a lot better, but we're really excited with how things have accelerated. I'm skating with a new partner. This is our second season together. We've only been skating for just over a year together, so we're still experiencing a lot of new things together. One of them being like for this event, we won the short. So it was our first time skating last because in most competitions with skating, you flip. So if you win the short, you're last to skate. So it's a lot longer wait instead of like, you just go out, you warm up and you go. So so there can be a little bit of that, but I thought we did really well with that, which was exciting. So lots of good takeaways from the event. Obviously, winning is huge, winning our first Grand Prix. And then we were second in Texas at Skate America a few weeks before. So we actually got our ticket to the Grand Prix final in China in 2 weeks.
Okay, wow,
It's
congratulations.
been a pretty good month.
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
I am curious, though, you said you just started with a new partner. What's the process like in finding a new partner? Like, how do you go about that?
It can be all over the map. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it can be quick. Most of the time it's like communication between coaches. So let's say there's you're looking for a new partner. Your coach will put feelers out to other coaches that they know. looking for a new partner, and it just can kind of stem from there. Luckily enough, when my previous partner Evelyn decided she didn't want to skate anymore, we reached out to Leah's coach, and it was like pretty quick. They were right on top of it. We started kind of skating together the next week after that, and just kind of, we actually never asked her if she wanted to skate with me. It just kind of continued, and that's our like running joke. We just don't know if she actually still wants to skate with me, but here we are now. So.
It's just going on.
Yeah, it was just, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
you both just showed up on the ice one day. You're like, oh, it's just us two here.
Yeah.
Might as well just skate.
Yeah, may as well keep going.
Do you guys get matched in terms of like height and everything? And
Yeah, that's a big thing. Obviously, with pair skating, it's like if you have a little bit more height, it's better because the overhead lifts and everything can be a little bit easier. But it all depends on a multitude of things: that skating skills, how you guys look together, how we work together. Which all of the things with Leah working out super amazingly. So can't complain.
So it does matter like if you guys get along or not.
Oh yeah, it's like it would be like the same thing if like you guys didn't like each other and you were doing this every single day, like all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't imagine not being able to like being partners with someone when you're working so much. It's like a full-time job what we're doing, and if you didn't like the person, it would be so hard for me.
You're with them all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah, that's like growing up, like as you were saying, a lot of people grow up just like watching the Olympics and stuff like that. Like I grew up just like watching like Tessa and Scott, you know, like they were the partnership, and everyone's like, oh, like how are they not together when it came out that like they were not? And it's like,
I can't believe I still can't believe that they're not married. Like I think they're really in love.
So I guess the chemistry is very important.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And Max mentioned at the beginning that you have started your own podcast, Ice Lab. So what made you want to do that?
I love podcasts. I listen to them almost every single day. So one of my best friends, Michael Marinero, who I actually competed against from like 2018 till they just retired after the last Olympics. Okay. So we're best friends. I started training with him when I first moved for skating. And it just kind of stemmed from there, but we both listen to podcasts all the time, always recommending podcasts to each other. Both like to talk a lot. So it was pretty easy for us. And one day I was just driving home I think I had just come back from competition. I was driving back to Belleville, which was the area that I'm from. And when I was driving home, I was like, hey, do you want to do a podcast? Like, I feel like we do a really good job at it. And it just kind of stemmed from there. So the whole thing with Ice Lab was to bring just more awareness to amateur sports. Like I said, like a lot of it is just really just during the Olympics, and it's only like you only get the telltale stories of like the CBC exclusives, all of those. So we wanted to bring people more into like what daily life of the amateur athlete is like and what it can be like, because it can be just so different from a professional aspect. And then it just kind of stemmed from there, and hoping that other people, like the whole thing about the Ice Lab is like, obviously skating is our thing, so ice just makes sense, but everybody has their own laboratory or lab of going on with works, social life, sports, everything. So we were hoping that it would just bring insight to other athletes, other people of what they could bring into their own lives that we do or other people do that they can hear about and connect with.
Yeah, I love that.
It's definitely like, I guess, pretty important. Like people don't, especially like in your sport, like people don't really understand like what the behind the scenes is like, and being an amateur athlete and like the funding, is it there? Like how it goes, like winning competitions. Is that how you make money? Is that how you go to the next step? Like I feel like it's an unknown. Yeah,
and it's very unknown, and it's different across all sports too. Like it's insanely different. I train with my strength and conditioning coach at the Milton Velodrome. So we trained a lot with the cyclists there, and like even just talking to them of like how vastly different it is. Like we were saying with funding, how it works, it's completely different. Yeah. So it's really interesting to hear other athletes' story. Ours has a lot of obviously skaters on it because we just have access to a lot of more skaters, but we've had a few other athletes. We've had we had a chiropractor who worked with the Olympic men's champion in high jump from I think it was Rio he won. So that was a really cool, interesting story, hearing him talk about that, and also that he works with professional athletes from the Detroit Red Wings, Detroit Lions. So like him hearing like the difference from him of professional and amateur sports and how much it changes was really cool.
Yeah, I'm sure. Especially like especially like for him as a chiropractor, the different kinds of injuries or like different stuff that he works on per se between like a football player, hockey player, figure skater. Like I feel like it's very really different across the board.
Yeah, one of the things with him that I found really interesting was like, he was like, yeah, track athletes are much more I think a lot of athletes get around the stigma of like, oh, you don't need like not therapy, but like physical therapy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, if you're seeing a physio or a chiro, you're hurt.
Yeah.
You don't want to be hurt. And he's like, the athletes, like track athletes are like, no, this feels tight today. Can you work on it? And that's like they're doing it trackside, and then it just boosts their performance. So it was really interesting hearing that for myself, because it's like, okay, yeah, no, if something just doesn't feel good, just get it worked on, and it just is going to help your training and your performance.
Have you implemented that?
Yeah,
Like,
for
moving
sure.
forward? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Heard him
yeah,
say that.
yeah. I'm very on top of that too, which is like a part of the thing with sports is you want to have longevity, and I just want to have longevity for my sport, and I also want to be able to do what I'd like to be able to do
Yeah.
when I'm done competing.
Right.
So let's try to keep the body healthy as long as
If
possible.
I could go to the chiropractor every day, I would.
yeah,
Yeah.
like,
It's like, there's not like the feeling now. There's nothing better.
Yeah.
It's like,
I love those TikToks where they like,
Oh, the
where they like
cracks?
fake
Yeah.
crack like the
yeah,
skeleton.
the skeleton
No,
just
no,
throws
no.
the skeleton against the wall. Yeah.
not the fake. I love the real stuff. I like watching the real
The
stuff.
real
Yeah. Okay. Back to more of the skating. Do you have like a favorite song like during a routine that you've done at any point in your life that just sticks to you?
So this was kind of a joke from last year while we were competing, because ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to skate to Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, I love the movies. The music's awesome. I always want to skate to it. And like, that's a pretty typical, I would say, one for like a younger guy,
Yeah.
younger man to skate to. And I never got to skate to it. Like, it just was never in the cards for me. And then last year I found one of the pieces that is a little bit more mature, not just like waving around, like pretending you're throwing not like your sword around at someone. And so we skated to it, and that was like all year. I was just happy to skate to it every single day. So I would say that one, but then this year we actually are skating to Gladiator, which I love even more, which I didn't think was going to be possible, but
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's like important, you know, it's like you're going out there, like I want to just like hear like a song that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easier to get skate to.
I mean, you must get sick of the songs like a little bit. Like I did dance in high school, and sometimes even it would come on, I'd be like, oh my God. Like,
yeah, that definitely happens. So that's like, my coach is really good with that. Like, obviously we use the music a lot. It's very intertwined with what we're doing, because that's, at the end of the day, it was part of our performance. But we always really make sure we pick something that we really like for that reason.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to get sick of. And then if we do, or we're not feeling anymore, we'll just change it. And we change our programs every year, so that makes it easier. Some
Yeah.
people will keep them for longer than one season, which I've never really done. So I don't know if I would be able to do
Yeah.
that. But
It's also like pretty niche, like Pirates of the Caribbean. I was gonna say you might not get like the PTSD all of a sudden you're at the grocery store. And
yeah,
then,
exactly.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
hearing
like,
it.
here's the song. You're like, oh no. My dad
skated-
listens to this again. It's Pirates of the Caribbean. You might
I
be
skated
okay.
to Someone You Loved by Louis Capaldi
Oh,
for a
sure.
show program one year. And then like, it was a really, like, we only skated to it for half a season because we were skating to Benny and the Jets before, which was also awesome. But
what
then,
a vibe change.
yeah, I
Dude,
know.
it's a
It was a
classic.
big change up, but it wasn't really working well for like a performance or whatever.
Yeah.
So then we switched to Someone You Loved. And even now, I like, as soon as I hear it, all I think about is like training and
Yeah.
competing with it. So
So for France or just any competition, what's your like pre-competition routine look like?
normal, like the only, like, I would say like more of like superstition thing is I always put my left skate on first.
Okay.
And I always take my right skate off first. Really weird. I don't know. I just noticed it. I don't know if it's so much superstition. It's just
Yeah.
like a routine, I guess. Besides that, it doesn't. But like, there's not really anything crazy.
No.
If I can take a nap, I always do. But that's about it.
I mean, if I can take a nap, I will as well,
me
just
too.
in general.
Okay. What is like a trick or something that you've tried to master or that you have now mastered that's taken you, let's say like a long time, like I need to get this down, and now you like would finally have it? Or is there one that you're still trying to be like, I need to get this because it will take me to the next step?
I think with skating, the biggest part is that, and this is just our mental, like the way we look at things mentally, is that there's nothing that's perfect. Like everything can be really daunting and like not terrible, but it can be very bad for your mental health as well as like what you're trying to do. So we look at everything as a mastery approach. So it's like everything can always be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And we're just striving towards making things a little bit better each day. So I wouldn't say there's anything that I'm like, oh, like I've got it perfectly, like, or like there's things obviously that I'm very confident in what we do. But yeah, there's nothing like in particular. One thing is like, another kind of joke with us is our side-by-side spins. So we have to do like spins side by side that you're trying to be at the exact same revolution, look the exact same the whole time, which I think is difficult because I'm skating with someone who's, you know, like 6-7 inches shorter than me, different, completely different body than me. So it's like trying to match that is hard. But besides that, I wouldn't say there's anything that I'm like, oh. Like one of the biggest things I think in skating is like your double axle, which is like once you get past that, it can open up doors, or it's just like kind of like a very big threshold thing for most skaters in general. Non like elite athlete like skaters even. So I would say that's probably what one thing that most figure skaters would say is like their double axle. But yeah.
I can literally picture the like Olympic commentators being like, and they're getting ready for the double axel.
Yeah.
And like, the side by side spins look really cool though.
Yeah, they are cool.
When people get
when
them
it's
in
when it's
time, they
awesome,
look,
it's sick.
Yeah, they do look unreal.
Yeah.
But it's like if you guys get out of time, that's scary to me because skates can go in places, and I'm always worried. And
Okay, since we talked about double axle, people try and get that from a young age. What was the process like to getting to where you are? Like, where did it start? How old were you? Like,
so I actually got kicked out of Timbits hockey as a kid. Yeah. I was a terrible skater. And so I was playing Timbits hockey, and I was like, I hated if someone took the puck from me. I'm a really competitive person. So like if someone took the puck from me, I would throw my stick at them, like tomahawk, punch,
so they're like,
kick,
no,
trip.
no sticks allowed for you.
I'm probably the only like Timbits player who has like, I have the most penalty minutes, definitely still. Yeah, in Timbits history. So they had asked like my mom and my grandparents, like, hey, like he shouldn't come back until he's learned how to skate better, just like to kind of solve that issue. So I went into Can Skate to learn how to skate, ended up trying figure skating like a year afterwards, liked it. And then it just kind of like rolled from there. I just kind of fell in love with it. At one point, my coach that I had at the time was like, oh, do you want to try pair skating? There's like a girl match up well. Try it. And so I'd never seen pair skating before, and I remember back, like it was like back old PC, not like gaming PCs, but old PCs. And I watched Jamie Saleh and David Pelletier from the 2002 Salt Lake Olympics, which actually is the performance that changed our sport, like for major. And it was just, I was just like, oh, this is sick. Like looks so cool and unreal. And ever since then, I've just been a pair skater. So yeah.
How old were you then?
I think I was about 10 or 11 when that happened. So I think I started wearing figure skates when I was about 9 years old, roughly, somewhere around there.
Was that a tough transition for you?
Oh, yeah. First time you step on the ice, just straight on your face from your toe picks. But I don't know. It's second nature to me. I teach power skating too. So like even switching between the skates, it's like, yeah.
Just no sticks anymore then.
I still have a stick, but but I'm not playing with a puck. I'm just teaching people how to skate with it. Yeah.
I remember I have tried on figure skates maybe like twice in my life, and I fall every time. But I'm just not a confident skater in general, which sucks. I'm from Ottawa. Like we have the canal.
Yeah,
which is
the canal is so much fun to
I want to be able to
skate
get
on,
out, like get out there and be confident. But no, and falling in public is really embarrassing. I don't like that.
Once I get going, I'm okay, but it's just straight, and I need the boards to stop.
Well, yeah. How do you stop?
I know, just stopping. I can't stop.
Just ran straight into it.
Yeah, straight into it. You know.
So you did mention earlier that you've switched partners recently. Like you've been competing together for over a year now.
Yeah, just over a year.
What was kind of the biggest challenge adjusting to like skating with her? Is it an adjustment switching from skating with one person then to another? Like obviously you have to learn kind of how they operate. What was kind of how did you go about that?
Yeah, that's definitely like part of it is it's just a different person in general.
Yeah.
So, the seeing how well you match up like personality wise and what they like to do, what you like to do. So that all kind of changes. And then also just like difference in heights and everything, the balance points are different. So that was, I wouldn't say it was super hard, but it was just like a little bit of a reminder of like, okay, some things I used to think about doing it this way, I need to change a little bit. So I honestly, we're very lucky. Everything kind of came together really quickly for us. It kind of clicked really well. So it wasn't like a long process, but it can be a challenging process in that sense. But also we kind of had that same mentality right away of like, okay, everything doesn't need to be perfect. Like we're just striving to be better every single day. So makes it a lot easier to just kind of keep working through things.
Yeah. And maybe another kind of challenge with the figure skating, now that we've talked about how you got into it, Do you find that there is a stigma surrounding kind of men's figure skating and that you've had to compete against that? I mean, even when you were 9, like, were the people who maybe made fun of you and you had to deal with that?
100%. I'm from like more of a small town area where it was like hockey is the big thing, and I got bullied a lot. Like, I won't lie, I got in a fight almost every single day from grade 1 to 6. Like, and it sucked, but I always stood up for myself. Like, that was one thing that even my family always like said, just always stand up for yourself. Like, so I did. Unfortunately, sometimes it just resulted in a lot of hands getting thrown at each other, but I don't recommend that. Violence is not the way. But I really did love what I was doing. I love skating. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I've always said I feel like I've never worked a day in my life. So I always just think that if you love what you do or you love what you're doing, nobody else should stop you from doing it. It might be hard sometimes, but if you just remember the picture of what you want to do at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing. I think that, I was lucky in that sense, in that I had such a supportive family, and my friend group as well, like they were supportive of it. Even some of them at first were like, would make fun of me and stuff. And then once you start succeeding in something, that also starts to go away. And I was succeeding not just in skating. I was doing well in school. I was doing well in all other sports at school. So like that makes a big difference. But even if that doesn't happen, it's still, at the end of the day, is if you love what you do, then nobody should stop you from doing it. So.
Oh, I love that.
A little different side here. You talked about your superstition. You go left, right in the skates. Do you have a go-to pair of skates that are like, maybe you've had them for a really long time, that you're just like, these are the ones, I'm using these? Or do you like to switch up and
No, so we have to, like, I switch them up every 6 months, because
every 6 months.
Every 6 months I get a new pair of skates. Slightly because like they'll break down and everything, but it's more of like, you can get them to the point where they will be broken, and you don't want to be skating in broken skates. 1, it's dangerous. 2, doesn't feel good. And so I just change them every 6 months, because then I never really get to that point where I'm like, right before competition. So, but
is breaking them in difficult?
Not as much anymore. Especially with just technology nowadays. Like skates are like I don't know if you've ever worn hockey skates, but it's like you just heat them up, put them on, and away you go.
Good.
This is like a little random. I don't know. I run a lot, and when I was running a lot, like I trained for a half marathon, and my feet were terrible. Do you have like blisters and everything on your feet, or your skates? No.
Oh, I'm not saying I have pretty feet.
No. I didn't want to be like, are your feet pretty?
Not
like,
selling feet on OnlyFans, but
we'll keep those off camera. Maybe for the special paid version of the episode. We could,
the subscription version of the show.
Exactly.
But no, I don't really get, knock on wood, I don't really get too many blisters or anything from that. But no, they're not the prettiest dogs in the world, but they're okay.
They're doing okay for what they are.
Do you get nervous like going into lifts and stuff like that still, or at this point it's kind of second nature to you?
It's second nature, and it's like one of those things, you don't think about the negative part, you just think about the positive or your keywords or anything. So like there's always still a little bit like that, I would not say cautiousness, but just being aware of what's going on, so that way if something is not going to go great, you're able to step in and fix it. But no, I like pretty confident in it, but and that's also part of it. If you don't just go for it, then that's when mistakes happen.
And like with the new partner, you would just go straight on the ice and just go straight to it. Do you practice the stuff off the ice?
Yeah, so we show up like an hour before our session every day, do like a full warm up, and then we warm up lifts off the ice and everything. And then depending on the time of year, we'll spend like an hour or 2 off the ice just doing lifts, trying new things, working on things. We always do like with lifts and stuff, you always try them off the ice for a while until they're comfortable first, but
I can't imagine because lifting off ice is hard anyways, and then you put skates on. I'm just trying to picture myself. I couldn't do that. Oh my God. Like figure skating's wild when you actually think about it.
Yeah, it's a super cool sport. That's one thing I love all sports. Like I'm a big hockey fan. I know you're Vancouver?
Vancouver,
yeah. Yeah, you're Vancouver and you're Sens. Yeah, disgusting, both of you.
Vancouver's not so good at that hot start.
Yeah, my roommate's a Vancouver fan, so we have arguments about it all the time. I'm a Leafs fan.
Leafs guy?
The Sens beat the Leafs like last week. I was at work and I watched it, and I don't watch a ton of hockey.
The Leafs, I don't know. They're always going to be. Do you think they have what it takes, or every year you're like, this is the year?
Oh, a little bit of that, but that's just like just because you want to win. Every team, I'm
But
pretty sure
to temper your expectations.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I still have faith in them. They have a good core group.
They do.
I don't know. Everything seems like it should be in place. It's just whether or not we're cursed enough to still. But
the city will go wild.
Wild. It'd be sick. It'd be like, I know you guys talked about that. When the Raptors won, I think it'd be like immensely past that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So far past that, but they're not going to win.
We'll see.
I'm sorry. I'm just crushing dreams. That's my job today.
We'll see. But yeah, so like I'm a big sports fan in general, but I think one of the coolest things about skating is that it's not one of the only sports, but one of the few sports that brings so much athleticism and artistry in at the same time, which is super cool. And it's also, you're throwing a human above your head on the ice with little thin blades on your feet.
When you talk about like the choreographed parts or like all that sort of stuff, do you have a say in that? Are you working directly with a coach who is like taking you through all the individual steps? Yeah,
so we work with a choreographer. Sometimes they can be your coach. Sometimes that's there's just their job is choreographing. We have both, but so yeah, no, it's definitely goes between the two of you, or the three of us technically. You get a say in it, because if you don't feel like it's working well, then it's not going to be portrayed well anyways, but you also want them to push you to be better, so you're still working on things. So yeah, it's a big collaborative effort from like everything, not just the choreography to training to the whole thing.
So for you and Leah, what would you say is like the next kind of goal for you guys for your skating?
Next goal is definitely, obviously our big goal is the 2026 Olympics in Milan. But besides that is just being competitive as we can at every event. So trying to win a world's medal, trying to medal at the Olympics, I think would be our obviously other goals besides that. But we're really I think we're doing a really good job of pushing ourselves to be more competitive and at every single event we go to. So that's the ultimate goal, obviously, is to win a gold at the Olympics would be amazing. But
if you won, that would be ridiculous. We could be like, oh, he was on our podcast.
Exactly.
And then just a little aside, you have a clothing line or an apparel line, Toe Pick Apparel. So maybe what's kind of a goal with that, like this year?
It's been a little bit more on the back burner for the last little bit. It's still running. You can go to toepickapparel.ca, buy some merch. So the whole process and the thought behind that was actually to get more boys into figure skating.
Right.
So when I first tried it, I was in white skates with black boot covers on, because it's really hard to find, younger male figure skates. It's not hard to get them, but a little bit harder to find a used pair. So then obviously parents don't know if you're going to like it. They don't want to spend the money on it. So we were trying to bridge that gaps. So a portion of our sales goes towards that. So someone can reach out and we'll pay for them to buy them brand new skates. So that was the whole premise of it, was to obviously build a brand for skating, just ones that you can wear on the ice, wear around to show that you're a skater and you love skating. And then also to hopefully bring more boys into the sport in that aspect, because I think that's one of the biggest bridges that keeps boys away from trying it, is that, you either get white figure skates or you can't find black figure skates, especially in smaller towns like where I was from. It was a lot harder to find that. So
yeah, I feel like the market also in the smaller towns is very tough to find your size.
Yeah,
in the mail,
exactly.
and just like in a used pair if you don't necessarily know you want to start with the sport.
And then what do you think, is there something that can change to get more young boys into this sport other than that? Do you think there needs to be more of a societal shift, or is it just little things that everyone, we should just have boys try it, right? Why are we pushing them all into hockey?
There's so many different options I think you could go with. One of them being obviously that Canada is known for hockey, and that's just what people do, and it's easier to access hockey skates and get into that. But one of the biggest things that I found, I obviously fell in love with skating. I was lucky enough to have the support system around me that I was able to continue with it. But one of the biggest things that I've seen, I was one of the only male skaters in my area. So obviously I went through all those problems with bullying and whatnot. But in Brantford now, where I live and train, and I've been there for 6 years, we went from there was one boy in figure skates to we have 8 or 9 now. Wow. And competitive, 4 or 5 competitive skaters. So I think one of the biggest things is just the exposure to it. So a lot of that has happened. A few of them have said they wouldn't have tried it if they hadn't seen me on the ice coaching them, or just in general seeing the like exposure to it. So I think that's a big thing, because then it becomes too, like, you can see it with these boys, like they're so closely knit as friends on the ice and off the ice, which is just creates a little group, which is really cool to see, especially for me, because like didn't have that at least close with me. I was lucky that I started competing and doing well, that I was able like started competing at nationals and everything. And I have a close group of friends that, you know, from across the world now, that like we supported each other through some of those times. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just mainly the exposure, but a little bit of like, you know, like let kids try what they want to try, and trying not to, you know, I would like not bully, but belittle them for wanting to try whatever they want to try, whether it's skating or dance or gymnastics, anything like that.
Can you talk a little bit about being a part of Team Canada and being a Sport Check athlete as well? Yeah, so Sport Check was my first job when I was 15. I still work there. So they have a really good program there that if you're an employee, you can apply to be a Sport Check athlete, and they'll help fund you, and you know, just try to do little things along the way that'll help you out with. So I'm very thankful for that. They've been doing that for a number of years for me, which has made a huge difference. Obviously, amateur sports are not overly funded that greatly for the most part, so that made a big difference for me. And being part of Team Canada is, you know, it's really cool. Like every time like we hear representing Canada on the ice before we skate, it gives you chills, and it just, you know, when you watch, like growing up, same thing, like watching the Olympics, and not just skating, but like any sport, you want to do something that's like part of Team Canada. You feel the whole nation behind you, even if there's nobody in the crowd or nobody there. You just know, like being from Canada or representing Canada in a sport or anything, there's a different, I don't know, level to that you don't get that feeling anywhere else. In any sport, I would say, like, the dream to make the Olympics and to represent your nation, that's always the most talked about thing. Is the biggest goal is to do that. So yeah, even with like hockey players, you hear them talk about it too, with like, you know, the Olympics or whatever. Like they all want to, like most of them want to go to the Olympics and play for their country still, even though some of them are Stanley Cup champions or haven't won a Stanley Cup. That's one of the most talked about things almost every time the Winter Olympics rolls around, because the hockey players, for the most part, from what you see, are like, yeah, we want to go and play. Yeah. Oh yeah, like Sidney Crosby, like his biggest moment, like he's the best, like one of the best hockey players ever. Multiple Stanley Cup champions. Golden goal. Yeah. No one will forget the golden goal call, scoring that in Vancouver. Like, that's just like one of the biggest moments of his career, if not the biggest. Yeah.
You know, I can't even imagine, and having to work so hard for it too, because I mean, people in the NHL like get paid so much to go and try and win the Stanley Cup, right? Yeah. But with like a lack of funding, you've like had to work so hard to get there, which I guess makes it just even better. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I moved in my last semester of grade 12 to my coach that I have now, and we were in London at the time, and then I wasn't able to go to post-secondary until this year, actually, because I had to work to be able to fund my own skating. And luckily, I'm at a point now where I'm able to go to school, which I'm really excited about, and be able to skate and still feel like I'm living without having to, you know, see any bills that are just post due. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy thing when you look back at how far you've come. Yeah, and like how hard you had to work. And yeah, you're just like looking back, you're like, you don't realize how hard you worked until later. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, I was just doing that. Just that doing it. I'm just going through the motions of what I needed to do. Yeah. Okay. We're going to go on to one of our last segments, take it or leave it. So I'm going to give you a piece of advice, and you can take the advice. You can leave it if it's awful advice. Okay. Some people say that athletes shouldn't take stances or share too much on their social media accounts. Do you agree with this? For me personally, I think this is one of the things that we tried to do with the Ice Lab. Was a lot of people see athletes and they don't see the vulnerability of athletes. So I think athletes should be able to post what they want to post or feel like they want to post, because that's bringing them, they're human. We're all human. Why does it make a difference? Like if, I'm an athlete, but I'm still a human being and I want to talk about something, and somebody else down the street who's, you know, not a athlete or as a business person is able to talk about it, right, or whatever it is. But that was one of the whole things with the Ice Lab that we were trying to do, is bring vulnerability into the athletes. Like, yeah, we hear the stories obviously of injuries, a lot more about mental health now, which I think is great, but there's a lot more that goes on as humans in general than just those things. Especially with athletes, we go through a lot of things like everybody does in everyday life, and I think the more we can connect with that with
other people, the more people are going to be wanting to help themselves, or I don't know, just be more like, just, we're all humans. Let's be humans together. Like, we're in this crazy world, crazy things are going on at all times, and we're not going to get through it if we don't, you know, be vulnerable and help each other. And I think that's one of the biggest things that athletes can do, is we can help other people by them helping us, and vice versa.
Yeah,
And also because you have like a platform as like a like a professional athlete, right?
Yeah.
So you can then share opinions and, you know, advice with people.
Yeah.
And I think that can create change, which is really nice.
Yeah, and there's some more athletes that are starting to do that, which I think is awesome. Obviously, it takes enough people to do it, and high enough people to be able to like break that stigmatism of it. But yeah, I definitely think we should be allowed to be able to just be more vulnerable. We're humans. Everybody's human. Like,
yeah, personal branding has become so big within like the sports market, as well as like just on social media with influencers. That are
Yeah.
it's just their life they're showing, not necessarily anything else. And I feel like it's important to show the highs and the lows. Like, you don't just want to be posting with, oh, here's my gold medal. It's
Exactly.
like you want to show all of it, because it also shows the journey to getting there.
Yeah.
Just like as a normal person, if they had a big accomplishment, they'd be posting that also, but they're posting throughout the whole entire time. They're not necessarily like, oh, here, this is sick. Like,
yeah, exactly. And then I think too, that just relates back to like, somebody could be seeing that and be like, oh, I'm going through a similar thing. And that might just be that little bit of a push that needs to get them out of that, or try to, you know, find help with whatever the situation is going on. And it just pushes them to a better place. And that's what, I think that's one of the things, like biggest things is like, you should, like with sport, is like trying to leave sport in a better place than it was when you got there. Whether it could be in the best place that it already was, but you know, you've really accomplished something when you leave sport and it's in a better place.
I love that. I want to end on that.
That's a Kobe Bryant quote, so I'll take it off of him. But
Yeah, you can give him
Yeah.
credit, give
Yeah.
him credit. And I mean, I guess you could kind of almost like see that then with like, you were just like a figure skater by yourself when you first started, and now you said like 8 boys all
Yeah.
skating together, and you can kind of see progress being made. That's really nice.
yeah.
Yeah, hopefully there's 20 in the next few years.
Yeah, maybe
exactly.
Max will take it up
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we've had you.
My ankles these
A
days.
little
I
bit.
don't think I can get on skates, but
Is Max? Are you too tall for it?
just to
figure skate?
No, not at all. No.
Is
There's-
height better?
like it can play some effects, but there's tons of skaters that are like super, like quite tall, like
Yeah.
6
I am nowhere near flexible enough to be a figure skater.
Can't even touch
No,
his
I'm
toes.
gonna leave that one in the past. But if I do want to take it up, I'll message you and
Yep, I got
you
you.
can watch me fail.
Private lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll come watch.
So where can people find you on social media?
Social media, my main platform is just Instagram, so it's Trennt Michaud, Trent with 2 N's. It's a little weird thing, but thanks, Mom.
Have they ever spelt your name right at Starbucks?
No,
Never.
never.
That's
Not
so
once.
sad.
Never. No. So yeah, just Instagram, Trennt Michaud. I do have TikTok, but I'm mainly just more social on Instagram.
And
Yeah.
your podcast as well?
And podcast, yeah, Ice Lab podcast. You can hit it up on any podcast platform, or yeah, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And also hit up theirs. I listen on Spotify, but that's just me.
Okay, well,
Amazing.
thank you so much for coming in today. I know you have busy schedule with school and everything. It's been so great talking to you, though.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thanks.